Welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast, where women come together and have the audacity to tell their truths. Are you choosing to live out loud while honoring the divine within? Well, ladies, this is your movement. Join ityPodcast, April, Juanita, and Linda as they dive deep into topics like self-love, spirituality, and comedic wisdom. We call those the foundations of goddess life. Tap in with the goddesses every week to be inspired, uplifted, and empowered.
All right. Welcome to the Goddess-ity podcast. I am so excited about this episode. I am Goddess April. And you know what? Without further ado, let me bring my co-host in on this real quick so we can get started. First, I'd like to introduce Goddess-ity. Say hi to the people, Goddess-ity.
Hi, people. Glad to be here.
Goddess Linda.
Hello.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, Goddess Juanita.
Hello.
And actually, Goddess Juanita is going to kick us off. Goddess, can you please let the people know what we're going to get into today? What is this all about?
Hello, family. I am so excited that you are here with us live today. This is the first Goddess Live, right? So this is our first. We are making history today. This is our first live, and we really have a really good topic to talk about. We're actually going to be talking about with the goddesses a little bit about our self-care and self-love series. We have some questions that we're going to have the goddesses respond to. And of course, we're going to be inviting you, our audience, to participate as well. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the episodes that we have been discussing, the different topics we've been discussing in our last 4 episodes. We've been talking about self-love and self-care. And as you know, as Black women, we really need to be focused on those areas. Our episode 1 was about the Kemetic principles, and that Goddess-ity really helped us to understand what the Kemetic principles were, how they kind of came about, what those people in Kemet, I guess you could say the genius of them, how they brought these principles into play, and also really trying to kind of connect those principles with the universal laws, and using both of those, the Kemetic principles and the universal laws, to give us kind of a foundation of understanding how we can work with basically ourselves, the different tools we can use to help align ourselves with the things that we want in life. So basically, that's what our first episode was about, is basically laying the foundation to really figuring out who we are and what we want, and kind of how do we work in this 3D world in order to get those things. In episode 2, we talked about affirmations and visualizations. In affirmations and visualizations, there were some tools that we can use to help get ourselves, I guess you could say, vibrationally aligned with the things that we want to attract. And we talked about how you can create your own affirmations, and how you can use those with visualizations to help align yourself vibrationally with what you desire. And then we had episode 3, we talked about the power of solitude. As we talked about learning about these principles, universal laws, and also the affirmation and visualizations, one of the things that we realize is that you have to have time. You have to set time aside to do those. And you need to be able to spend that time alone, trying to learn those tools, really trying to get into deciding what you want in life and how you're going to organize your life in a way that will bring those things to you. And then episode 4, which was not least, we talked about intuition. How you can use intuition is almost like a superpower. It's that extra sense that you can't see, you can't hear, but you just know it's in your gut, really. You have that gut feeling that something is just not right. So these episodes had so much information and so many little nuggets that you can take away. So if you haven't had a chance, family, to look at those episodes, please go back, take time to really look at those episodes. And you don't want to look at them one time. You want to look at them several times, because I've been going back over the last couple of weeks and looking at them myself. And every time I look at them and listen to them, I remember so much more about what we talked about. So without further ado, I would like for us to get into our live. So we want to start off with some questions. And so our first question is, why was the topic of self-love and self-care important to you? So I would like to start with Goddess Linda first. Can you tell us, Goddess Linda, a little bit about why you like this topic?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Goddess Juanita, and hello to all of our fellow goddesses and gods who are out there watching. So why was this topic important to me? Because I have come to learn that it all starts with self. I never thought that I was a person to play the victim. But what I did realize is that things that had happened to me over the years, whether that was in my childhood, my young years or young adult, or even as an adult, that wasn't pleasant, they still had a hold on me. And I was viewing it from the point of, well, if this situation had not happened, or if this person had not done X, Y, and Z, then I would be able to flourish, in this situation now. And what I learned is that over time, those things conditioned me. And even if the things weren't necessarily bad, it was just someone else's expectation placed upon me. And as I discovered how to truly love myself, that was an inside job. It's completely inside job. So us starting off with self-love and self-care is the perfect foundation to build upon everything. And even when you get to those points, when I got to those points where I'm struggling, I have to ask myself, okay, where is it within here that you're not giving to yourself, Linda? And it's like, okay, once I have that talk with myself, and once I, kind of flush that out, then I can put action into play to give myself self-love. And also, and I'll add this, and then I'll pass this on over to Goddess-ity. So I'll say this last thing is that self-love is not an outward. Not outward. It is so it's an inner thing. And I felt that as we started developing our podcast and talking to our other goddesses and helping them along their journey, it's not about your outward appearance. So that's why I felt it was important to start with the topic of self-love and self-care. And Goddess-ity, do you have anything to add from your perspective?
Oh, yes. Child, I have some things to add. Thank you, Goddess Linda. Self-love and self-care for me have been, I think, so on the back burner for such a long time, because I feel like as a Black woman, I've been conditioned to love and care for everybody else as a duty and an expectation. And then that becomes the way that you show love. Some kind of magical, mystical way your needs will get met. My screen is frozen. What is going on here? Okay.
It is, but we can hear you. So I'm like,
It's not frozen now.
It
Am I
keeps
good?
freezing on mine,
Yeah,
but
I'm
It
still
does?
frozen on mine too.
It
Since we just gonna
is?
talk about it, y'all. We gonna just talk about it.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean
it's
that's
in
no
the live.
problem.
We live.
Now I
You
can
know.
see you. Now you're unfrozen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me know I was unfrozen. Because on my side, I'm just over here moving around, doing the most. Okay.
We can hear you, but we couldn't see you moving.
That
Right.
is so unfortunate. Okay. All right.
All right,
You
start
let me
over.
know.
Well,
All
good.
right. So yeah, like I was saying, I think that as Black women, we're conditioned to care for other people and just assume that all of our needs are going to be taken care of by some magical, mystical person.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I don't ever want to approach these topics and make it sound like men don't uphold the other half of the sky. But I
Right.
do feel like the way that women are conditioned to care about people and have all of the foresight and figure out how everything is going to work for the children and for your husband, if that's your situation, and for the PTA, and for that is not an expectation that is equally put into the lap of men to do.
Yeah.
So I think that when it comes to, again, caring for ourselves, who is going to care for us the way that we care for other people? Who is going to meet all of those needs and fill in those gaps if it's not us or it's not other women? So this was an important topic for me because I realized over the years that I can't tell you that I know how. Self-love and self-care is just, it feels selfish. It
Yeah.
feels like there's a level of shame with it. And I
Yeah.
think that that should not be the case. So I'm glad we had the opportunity to jump into the mix for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
How about you, Goddess April?
Yeah, no, I can completely relate with Goddess Linda and Goddess Akili. I think for me, realizing just how much, and you ladies may feel this way too, like this journey that I've been on, all of the things that I've been through, or the majority, and especially when it's come to like relationships, how much self-love was foundational, or a lack thereof was foundational in that equation, right? Um, so just like how I've gone about my life and what I've accepted in life period, but especially in relationships, as someone who has been in domestic violence situations, um and allowed myself to be, and I'm going to say allow simply because there are situations that I stayed in long past, further than I should have.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I'm speaking for myself because I know, and it wasn't always easy to leave. So I'm just speaking for myself and want to acknowledge that sometimes that is the case. It's not that easy to leave, but I'm just saying that I know that I stayed far longer than I should have, and tolerated, accepted, or experienced violence on a multitude of levels: financial, physical, emotional, right? um and at the time feeling like a victim and wondering why I'm constantly finding myself in situations, right? Like, what is it? Like, I don't get it, right? And feeling like I'm showing up as the partner that I would think would be loved and respected and appreciated, and not understanding that what was being reflected to me, or what I was experiencing, was due to how I felt about myself, right? So just feeling like I know I'm not the only one. I know there's plenty of women who have not only experienced and understand what Goddess Akili and Goddess Linda are talking about, but also what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no way we couldn't start, right? What it is that we were trying to do, that we could not start with self-love, just because it's, like I said, foundational to everything. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so what about you, Goddess Juanita?
And I agree with all of you goddesses. I mean, I think when we start talking about the audacity, right, to be a goddess, I mean, we have to start first with ourselves, right? Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then as we know, no one else will. If we don't put ourselves first, no one else will feel obligated to, because they always look to us to be the caregiver, right? The
Mhm.
one that just keeps on giving and giving until we collapse, literally, right? And
Mhm.
I don't think they do it because I don't think they necessarily do it because they don't care about us. I just think they do it because we're just so good at what we do. You know what I mean? We're just
Mm.
so good. I mean, whatever you ask us to do, if we need to care for someone, we just know how to do it in the right way. We know how to organize it. We know how to make it look like, seamless. Like we just been doing it all our lives because we just have that kind of knack for being able to just know what to do. And
Mhm.
because of that, I think people look to us women to do things because they just know when they put it in our hands, it's gonna get done. They don't have to worry about it. So in a way, I can see, hey, I can see why they do it, but that still means for us, we got to prioritize ourselves because if we don't, then other people don't even think about it. But I think as we talk more about this subject of self love and self care, as the men in our families, the young people, as people start hearing us talk about it and see how important it is, I think other people will start talking about it too. And we live in this time now. I just want to say one more thing before we move on. Of you hearing so many people going through depression and having mental illnesses and all of that.
Mm.
And a lot of times I think about, is that just because they feel like they have so much pressure on them to be perfect, to be this, to be that? And is that the thing that's just driving them crazy because they feel like, I want to do all these things, but I don't know how, and I can't be everything to everybody. So I'm just going to check out. You know what I mean? I'm just checking out
Mhm.
because I just can't do it. So I
Mhm.
think, looking at that with the mental illnesses, mental health thing being such a big thing now, I think the self-love and self-care is so important, especially, in these times and in these days that we're going through right now.
Yes.
Anybody else want to add anything else about self-love or self-care, goddesses?
No.
No, I just wanted to, if no one does, I see that Goddess Linda, she is monitoring the chat. I know you threw in a question because this is our first live, y'all. So if you're here, we see a couple of people watching. We appreciate you wholeheartedly. But she was trying to figure out if you guys could hear us.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're assuming that if you're still here, you can, but it would be wonderful for you to just someone throw it in the chat that the volume for us is working, that we're doing pretty good on the audio. Um, so yeah, no, that was it. I just wanted to jump in and say that really quickly.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right, goddesses. So our next question that we would like the goddesses to address is, what have you been up to or working on since we started doing the self-love, self-care series? So, and I guess in a way, it's like, what have you been working on? I mean, I don't know if you've been working on some of the things we talked about, but what has it kind of put you, I guess, in the place of feeling like you need to go in and, make some changes, do some adjustments, what did it got you revved up to do? Goddess April, start with you this time.
Yeah. I definitely, because I mean, we watched it too, right? We all
Mhm.
watched the episode. And you listen to yourself, right?
Mhm.
And you're listening to the other goddesses. And I feel so blessed to have you ladies. Because I'm essentially, we're getting support too in real time as we're
Mhm.
sharing, right? We're
Yep.
sharing with the audience, whoever's going to listen, but this is our lives. Like, we are sharing of ourselves, we're sharing our experience. So um to go back and watch, and I'm sharing, things that I'm going through, what I'm experiencing. I even share some of the stuff that I mentioned in the last question. Um and then, listening to you ladies and your support and your guidance and things like that. And even some of the questions, and this is what I loved about a lot of those episodes, is that the goddesses were bringing it in terms of like questions to pose to not just the audience, but each other, that we could then go home. I mean, go home, we're at home, then go back, go back and do some work and do some self-reflection. You know what I mean? And so, just really being able to see myself. I mean, that's what I've been doing, honestly. Like, I've been doing the work. I have been taking more time for myself, right? I have been reading, I've been journaling, I've been all the things that we've talked about. And I just realized, and I came to that epiphany too, as we were recording, I heard myself saying, like, I know this stuff, but like, I really need to get into doing the work. I have to get back to the things that I know have worked in the past and start really applying them again, because what I'm going through right now is distracting me. Right. And I had to get honest with myself. Like, what's the difference between where I felt like I was before and I felt like I was, doing pretty well and thriving and feeling good. And the reality is that I kind of fell off. I was not prioritizing myself, my health, and my well-being. So I'm so glad that we did it, because it made me, right? It was a reality check. I needed that. It didn't even realize that I needed it. Okay. To be like, girl, you got to get back to it. So I feel, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but I feel so good. Like,
I can tell. I can tell when we got on today, there was a different air about you today. There was this smile. It was like you lighting up the whole room. I'm like, okay, there's something different going on here.
Yes, she is coming back, honey. Okay. I love that affirmation, confirmation of that.
All right. I can tell. So it's definitely a different April. Goddess April here today. That's for sure.
I love that. Thank you, goddesses. I appreciate you.
Yes.
What about you, Goddess Akili?
Oh, my goodness gracious. First of all, I just love all of that for you. I'm just excited about all of everything that you just said. It makes me so happy to know that we're able to pull from these experiences and do some amazing stuff in our own lives. And even if that means, we have to take steps back and reevaluate and readjust and step to the side, right? For me, I have been stretching myself to create balance in those areas where I'm very finite. There are some things in my mind that have just been planted in there that I feel like if I am not doing these things in a certain way, even though I know better, it's failure. One of those things being just the view of entrepreneurship, the view of marriage, the view of health. But I'll stay on entrepreneurship for what we're talking about tonight. We'll get into some of those other things in some of our other episodes. I was raised by an entrepreneur. All you guys know that. And so I have a very finite view in my mind for some reason that it is very hard to be successful, especially as a Black woman outside of that space.
Yeah.
It's like you can only get so far if you're working for other people.
Yeah.
Again, that concept is that people are paying you to fulfill a job description, not your destiny or your purpose.
True.
Right? And so it makes it challenging to think about sometimes being in a space, working for a company, even if it's like, oh, I'm going to head to the C-suite, or, I could really move up the corporate ladder. It makes it difficult to even look at that as an option Because on one hand, it feels like, well, why would you even attempt to do that? You know, you're only going to get so far. You know, there's a ceiling that's there waiting for you. You know that as a Black woman, you're going to deal with all of these issues. And is it even going to be worth all of the nonsense that you would have to go through when you think about your own experiences or the experiences that you know of from other Black women? Or should you just be in a situation where you're in this grindy state of entrepreneurship and when I say grindy, I mean, I feel like that is a grind that doesn't quite let up.
No, it doesn't.
Um, and I feel like the balance and the struggle between the two, I'm not going to lie, I feel like they might have been the cause for some of my stomach issues or some of my,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Just the ability to digest, enjoy, taste, and feel and savor life.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
while I'm not saying that I feel like that's a part of my tree that's gone, I don't think that branch will ever be removed from the tree. I just think that's in a part of who I am. I just think that it serves as an example of something where you have to have more flexibility and understanding. Even my view of what it's supposed to look like sometimes has a bunch of challenges with alienating your children and not ever being able to have time for your family and
Yeah.
all of those things that I hold very valuable and dear, which again make it very difficult to pursue entrepreneurial journeys. Because you're like, I don't have time to be putting all these people on the shelf because I don't want them to ever experience that. So I'm working with understanding that things are not finite.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it is. It's
Yep.
all temporary. It's all temporary. It's
Yeah.
all temporary.
One more time.
That's so true. That's the truth.
Child, it's a whole illusion out here. Like all day, every day. What part do you want to play in the movie today?
Yeah. What part?
Yeah, it is how I'm looking at things now. So I feel very fortunate to have had the time to really think about a lot of the things that we've talked about in those shows to get to this space of being able to just let go of some ideologies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Goddess Linda, what say you?
Hey. Okay. What say me? Ooh, what have I been up to since? Let me tell you this. There are days now that I say, Linda, stop trying to conquer the world in 30 days. So, because as you guys are aware, I have officially completed my first full week of being retired.
Yeah.
And in this journey of this first week, it was like, ooh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I'm like, okay,
goodness.
Calm down. Okay. Calm down. Because since starting, I won't even say since, because it has been a journey, but there's been a greater level of awareness within myself as far as what I want, what my capabilities are. The one thing that I've been wanting to do is to connect more with myself. I feel that I had been disconnected for so long. On the outside looking in, it's like, oh, okay, Linda got it going on. Linda has everything together. But on the inside, Linda was struggling. But now there's just so much freedom that I've found. And I want to continue that awareness and seeing things as they develop and because there's a lot of things that have come to fruition that I have affirmed, visualized, but I was not even aware of it. And I was just like, okay, so I've been more intentional about being aware. And so in that connection, it's about me just being, I want to create more. and taking it to that next level of just, manifesting the life that I want. And it's I don't even know if it, I would say some of it is some material things, but it's not even that. No, it's experiences, so that's what I've been up to, is just, curating this life, and the joy that it brings to me in knowing that I can, that
Yeah.
I just can, there's things that I have, let me see, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? Well, let's just scratch that. So it's just going back to the awareness. So that's where that's what I've been up to, just loving self more, so that I can be that love and be that light, and so secure in who I am. So I'm just learning that and developing it. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and the topic of church came up,
Mm-hmm.
and I just said, no, I don't attend. Whereas before, that would have been a struggle.
Yeah.
I had gotten to the point where it's like, okay, don't say nothing. Then I got to the point where, okay, I would say something, but it'd be like long after the fact. And now I can speak on it, just like, no, that's not me,
Yeah.
So being honest and true to myself.
Mhm.
That's what I've been up to. Just loving Linda, loving life,
Yes.
Sounds good.
connecting, saying hi to the birds, saying good morning to them. I'm like, hey, good morning to you too. How you doing?
I love
Yep.
that.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I would just say, I think as I was talking to the guys earlier, I feel like there's some areas where I've expanded in, and there's some areas I've kind of contracted and held back. I was really doing a lot of the affirmations, and I was doing a lot of visualizations on a particular thing that I wanted to bring into my life. And kind of once that thing came into my life, uh, it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I guess you can say that. It wasn't exactly the way I visualized it. It came, but it wasn't exactly the way I visualized. And I kept going back and thinking, okay, did I look at it the wrong way? I don't know. But anyway, so then I was like, okay. Then situations started getting a little deeper and a little bit deeper in that situation. And then I started going back to my altar because I had to talk to my ancestors and say, that's when you know it's getting deep. When you go back to the altar and say, ancestors, I need your help. Let me bring you some
Yes.
food. Let me bring you some water. I mean, what we need to do right here, because I need you to come
There
on
you
in
go.
here and make a change right now, right now. And so I started maybe about 2 to 3 weeks ago. I started going back to the ancestors, and I was giving them time. I was like, "Ooh, y'all gotta help me out because I need some help." And I will say, and I can't say at what point it started changing. And let me tell you this: the situation that I'm in that is uncomfortable for me, that has not changed. That situation is still the same. But what going to my ancestors did for me is it changed my perspective on what the situation was, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It
Mm-hmm.
made me say, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to be getting from this situation?
Yeah.
And how are the people that I'm encountering in this situation? How can I impact their lives? And how can I make a difference, even in this place that's so very uncomfortable for me right now? Right. And so once I started looking at it that way, I mean, it changed my whole perspective. The situation is still somewhat uncomfortable, but it's not like it was before where I was trying to figure out a way to just get out. Because that's the first thing, of course, when I went to my ancestors, I just want out, right? And then
Yes.
my ancestors
You're
were
like,
saying,
nope.
no, you
The
can't
only
get out.
way
You
out is
gotta,
in.
yeah, you gotta go through this. And as I started looking at the reasons I was going through it, I could see some of the reasons why I was going through it. And I could see some of the lessons that I have been learning. So as I've been looking over the last 2 to 3 weeks, there has been little nuggets here and there that I said, okay, I learned something new about myself, or this happened or that happened. It's still uncomfortable. But the other thing that I'm trying to learn, because like I told y'all before, I'm a very high stress person. And that's the reason I like this series, Self-Love and Self-Care, because I really need to find ways to separate myself from situations that are very uncomfortable for me. I need to be able to figure out how to be in the midst of that, but be able to separate myself from the emotions that I'm having that's causing that uncomfortable. Because it's like myself is not that emotion. That emotion is something I can't control. So it's not part of myself. It's a part of my being, but not myself. So, and that's why I'm always so high stress, because in the moment that I'm in these uncomfortable situations, and the most of the time it's on my job, I'm just going to say that, in these situations where someone else has done something to put me in a situation that's very uncomfortable, I guess because I'm such a want to be perfect kind of person, high achiever, as I said before. So in my world, when things don't line up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and things are not done accordingly to the way that I feel like they need to be done, it stresses me out so much, because I feel like such a failure in that moment that it doesn't happen the way I know that's the right way for it to happen. And when I know that it's something doesn't happen right and people are not being treated correctly, and I mean, all of these things that are just all against all my moral being, it upsets me so much, to the point that I internalize it, right? I bring it into my own self, and I take on the guilt, the shame, the disappointment, all of those things within myself. And that's another thing that I am asking my ancestors to help me not to internalize it. But for me, it's such a part of me to feel, to, you know what I mean, to feel like that feeling that I'm having is my feeling. That thing that someone else is my pain. You know what I mean? I internalize all that. And so in this series of self-love and self-care, I'm trying to figure out how to separate myself from the emotions, or the, you know, or the emotions that I feel like not only am I having, but other people are having. So I feel like my ancestors have helped me to understand that it's some things that I'm learning, that I'm going through this for a reason. But then I just have to take deep breaths, you know, do some breathing, try to, you know, be in the moment. Like today, I went to the beach, to Galveston, just early in the morning. Sometimes on Sundays, I like to just go while there's nobody really there, and I go and I'll take my book and I'll do some journaling and whatever. So I did it today, and it was just so wonderful just to be, right? To not think about anything, not have to be any place, just be. So I think that's another thing that I kind of got out of our series, was just talking about having that solitude time, having that time for yourself, and just be. Does anybody else want to add anything?
I do want to say something really quickly, because listening to you guys, Juanita, you know, because I've talked about, I think I've mentioned just like that journey, or like figuring things out, being like really sensitive to other people's energy, being
Yeah.
very empathic. So I actually ordered a book on being an empath and psychic abilities. So I'm gonna share that with you,
Please do.
because listening to you talk, I can relate to what you're saying, and so I think it may be really helpful for you. Actually,
Okay. I would definitely appreciate that. I will take all the
absolutely.
help that I can get,
I know that's right. I got you.
whatever that will be.
I
Any
got
other
you.
insights on, you know, what you've been doing? Any of the goddesses have anything else to add about what they've been doing?
Yeah, I want to add, going back to what I said about being retired, and also, you know, trying to conquer the world in the next 30 days. One thing that I have noticed, well, before I say that, something else that I've been very intentional on is curating better health
Yeah.
internally. And what I found is that I've been sleeping a lot more since being retired. I'm thinking that I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this task, I'm going to go run here. I get up and I'm sitting on the couch. I might be doing something. And next thing you know, I am so tired. I'm like, but you went to sleep at before 9 o'clock, you know? But what I'm telling myself, because I'm listening to my body, it's like, Linda, you have been under so much stress for so many years. You've been in survival mode. You've gotten out of survival mode. And now releasing yourself from the corporate matrix.
Ooh.
Yes.
Your body is saying, now I can fully rest.
Yes.
And so I said, okay, give that to you. Give that, don't think that, oh, I should be doing this, doing that. It's like, give that to you. So that's something else that I've been, doing, listening to myself, being easy on myself, giving myself the grace and that's what I've been doing. It feels good, because I found myself just walking down the hall to my bedroom. And I was walking at a very fast pace. And I'm like, why are you rushing? What are you rushing to? Why are you rushing?
Why are you in a hurry?
I think my phone was in my bedroom. So I was going to get my phone. And I said, let's slow down. Slow this pace.
Oh, wow. Isn't that something? That's
yes.
amazing.
And it's like, and that has me looking back all over the years, just that conditioning of doing and what it can do to your body.
Yes.
And this us coming together in this Goddess-ity, and that's my audacity. My audacity when I made that decision when I found out that I could retire and making that decision to retire and looking out for self.
Yeah.
Because the last thing that I want is to be home and I can't do anything, to be retired and the stress of the world, especially here in this United States, that it puts on us as Black women.
Yeah.
And I'm not functioning, or I'm just being this totally person that can't nobody stand, and I couldn't stand myself, And I'm gonna say this. So I had asked my niece, my older niece, we're probably about 8 years apart. So she's kind of like a niece, sister, daughter situation. And I was feeling so good. I was over her house one day and I was just like, hey, I said, what have you noticed about your auntie? I'm like, because I was just in a very good mood. She said, you ain't a bitch no more. And all I could do was laugh because I was in such a better place that I said, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I said, but that bitch of a Linda, she was protecting herself.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to still protect myself, but I'm not protecting myself. The universe is protecting me. It's just all of the love that I'm just pouring into myself is chef's kiss. So that's all I wanted to add.
I love it.
I'm glad.
That's Salt Bay.
Yeah.
That's how he holds his hand. All the salt.
I'm so glad you said that, guys. I cannot wait to be in your position where I can just not do, like I can just do what I want to. And if that's just absolutely nothing,
yes.
I do that.
Yep. Wow. I told, okay, so real quick, I'll add this again. So when you said do absolutely nothing, I told my family, I said, here's the rules of engagement. Do not call me before 10 o'clock because I'm still asleep.
Child.
Don't call me between 2 and 4 because I'm taking a nap.
Right.
And I said, do not try to run my calendar, run my schedule, because doing nothing is doing something.
Yeah.
I know
if
that's
I
right.
choose to do nothing, that's what I've chosen for myself. So don't mess that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do nothing.
Yeah.
I am loving that.
I like that though. Hey, yeah, don't try to put a lot of stuff on my class because I'm retired. No, don't do it.
Yeah, 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 yep. And the last thing I said, when you see me in these streets, mind your business.
You know what? That is for another show. I have 76 questions that just popped up. 76 whole questions.
I can't
Don't
wait
be
for the
asking
next one.
Right,
you Goddess-ity.
about
Don't be
you.
asking no questions.
That's all. I got 70.
New Linda, new day, new Linda. This self-love stuff. This, oh my goodness.
I think it's because she equated it to the streets. And I was like,
No, right.
I need 76 questions answered.
My mind, things where my mind would not go before, they going now.
Hey,
Come on.
yeah.
I know that's right.
We're going
Yeah.
to get to this after the podcast. We're going to get this podcast over.
The after show, honey. The after show.
It's going to be the after conversation.
Yep. And for those who want to learn more about that, that's with our VIP package. So more to come.
All right, more to come. All right, Goddesses. Okay, we have the last question that we're going to be talking about today. And that is, how have you evolved or expanded since we have been filming the series of self-love and self-care? And I guess probably just because we only maybe did one other series, the Goddess-ity to be a goddess, right? The Audacity to be a goddess. So how have you kind of expanded since we started this podcast, really, right? Or evolved? Goddess-ity, kick us off with this one.
So let me just say that when it comes to numerology, I am a life path 9. Okay.
I know a little bit.
Which means I'm not here to play a lot of games.
All right now.
I'm here to kick some stuff up. I'm here to teach. I'm here to do things that change the world. And we all are here to change the world. Don't get me wrong in any aspect. But something about that life path number 9, you show up in that space a lot of times when you've had a lot of challenges that you've had to overcome, so that you can be a person that helps people overcome a lot of the challenges that they're going to go through.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what I've had to expand and understand, especially since the work that we've been doing together, is that, child, they ain't all coming.
Yeah.
They're not all going to get it. I think the vast majority, and I hate to almost say this in my soul because of how strongly I feel about us and the journeys that we're making and the history that we don't know of and the things that we just need to awaken to. Child, people like sleep.
Yes, you're right. They like to sleep.
They like a lack of awareness.
Yes.
A strong level of comfort with things and things that they, again, would just rather not see. And you know what? That's okay.
Yes.
I can't take that personal. I can't look at that as something that has to do with my messaging or my wanting people to have a different collective consciousness. But I do believe for those people that do have a collective conscious, then there are things that will happen within that collective, right? And that's okay. I recently had a conversation with a gentleman who is about our age, and with his children, he said that, even though they're Black children, they don't have a lot of the same burdens that we did or that our parents had.
Definitely.
And I agree with that. He said, they're free. I said, are they? And he was like, yes, they're free. I was like, huh. He said, so with them being free, then how do you identify, or how do you give them an identity associated with being Black? If they don't have to deal with any of the issues that Black people have to deal with, then what is being Black? And in my mind, I was like, what? Are they free? Like, I'm confused about, and I know what he's saying. He's like, because what is Black? I said, well, we understand the concept of where Blackness came from and race came from. I said, but I'm always going to say, I believe being Black is one of my superpowers. He was like, right, I understand what you're saying, but still, if there are not those challenges, then what does that even mean?
Yeah. But there are those challenges for some.
Well, that's where I was saying, like, well, where are we?
Now, it depends, yeah, you're right, because he might live in a place where it's not any, and most of the time,
no, he lives right here.
Yeah, but a lot of times those places are places, and it just goes. I've noticed those places somehow can be where there's not a lot of us there, but sometimes it's there. It just tries to be subtle. And if it's just a few of you somewhere, and none of you are, how can I say it, like at the top of something, they don't feel like they have to compete against you, then it's no problems. But let you excel, let you be striving, let somebody be calling out your name. Oh, it's gonna be some issues to do with your race. Trust me.
Yeah. So like before we take this too far off to the
that's my point.
But I get what you're saying. We just want to
in
bring
another
that
direction.
That's how I expanded. That's how I expanded.
Yes, awesome. Yeah. So can I share how I've expanded?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So oh God. Loving myself more. I'm gonna keep saying this. Because that's just where I'm at. Just loving myself more. And having that confidence, my confidence has just been building. So recently I was in visiting family, and I was introduced to someone, and it was like, oh, Linda, I've heard a lot of great things about you. I hope they're all true. And I just said, yes, they are. And he was like, oh, can you be humble? I said, humble? What does truth have to do with being humble? I said, I know me.
Yeah.
So if I know me, and I know that everything that's been said about me was true, and I'm just listening to myself talk, and I said, Linda, you just said that with all boldness and confidence. And I was just loving myself, that I'm not shying away and just shrinking myself. And it's just been this wonderful feeling. And I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm like, universe, okay. Don't hit me at all, but I mean, bring it. Yeah. I'm like, come on. Yeah. So that's my expansion, is just, the awareness of how I had been limiting myself. And now that it's just embracing it all. I'm just growing, just loving it.
Yeah, why is it okay for other people to say stuff about you and not you? Okay, that's it. I digress.
Yeah. I said, well, if I'm not my biggest advocate, then who?
Yeah.
I should be my biggest proponent.
Okay. But I digress.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
I digress.
All right, Goddess April, how have you expanded or evolved?
Ooh, I have really just, I think, with all the things that I have talked about, that I've gotten back to doing, and even diving into like the book that I just talked about. And I am really, I shared before that there was a place that I was afraid to go. I've been afraid to meet myself, and I don't know if it was acknowledging it. I feel like it's a combination of a lot of things, between doing this work, but also doing this work, right? that the fear has lifted, right? And
Wonderful.
so
Yay.
I am just allowing myself to fully get to know myself and
Yeah.
allowing myself to go to those depths that I was afraid to go to. I have allowed myself to fall in and allow whatever. I'm surrendering
Mm-hmm.
to this process of meeting my full self, right? Meeting April, which has been, and I attribute it to why I feel the way that I feel today. Is that it's like it the thing that, and I can't even say that it's anything crazy because I was told you I was scared, right? I'm like, I think it's gonna be, I don't know what it is. But I'm like literally right now, as I'm saying this, realizing that that is what's happening. And it's really like a weight that has been lifted, that I am just going with the flow. Like I am just like, I don't give a damn. I'm doing whatever feels good, what feels right, what makes sense. And that whole intuition episode that we did,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
child, when I'm telling you, I am listening, I am listening, I am listening, without any guilt or shame about it, right?
Yes.
Where I carried so much of that for so long,
Yeah.
doing these things that I felt I was taking myself away from, right? That I was supposed to be doing. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, child,
Ooh,
that's how I've expanded so far. And
Kara, I'm loving this for you.
I
Oh,
know. So
oh,
wonderful.
I'm
So
feeling
wonderful.
it. I'm feeling it for you.
So
I
wonderful.
appreciate that.
And I think for me, like I was mentioning, I think to the guys earlier, I feel like there's areas in my life that I've expanded, but I also feel like there's some areas that I've contracted. Because I guess what I feel like is that it's hard to really have your focus on too many things at one time.
Oh yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, I kind of went back and started, talking back with my ancestors again because I don't know, probably it's intuition. I'm sure we all have those times when it's something that's pulling us in a certain direction and you just feel that it's a place you have to be. You can't really explain it. You just know I need to be at this spot doing this at this time because something is telling me there's something for me here that I need to get. And it's almost like one of those things how you're like, you're running, and you're going here and you're going there. And it's something just kind of tells you just need to be still. You need to just be quiet. You need to just, you know what I mean? And I feel like there's a time where I'm feeling like something is telling me I just need to sit still. I just need to sit with whatever this thing is. I'm going with it. I got to sit with it for a little while. I got to, I got to sit with it because I got to really kind of understand what it is that I'm supposed to be learning about it and not be so much worried about doing this and doing that. And what I found out too, because one of the things I try to do, because I tried to, when my schedule go in earlier, I usually always have my quiet time in the morning, do my reflection in the morning. Then I start trying to do it in the evening because I was getting up so early and doing it. And it just worked. It's something like I have that morning thing that says I got to do mine in the morning. When I wait to the evening, it just doesn't have the same impact. It just, I don't know. I can't explain it. You think, okay, you're doing the same thing. No matter when you do it, it should work. So one of the things I tried something new, tried to go about doing something different, having my quiet time in the evening versus the morning. It didn't work for me. I had to go back to the morning because it's just something about that time, 4:35, that before everything starts moving, everything got busy. That time for me just seems like the time that I have to go in and make my, I got to go before the ancestors. I have to light my candles. I have to do whatever. And so I tried something new and found out, no, it doesn't work for me. So I guess one of the things I would say, on your journey, as you're doing these things, when you go back and listen to our videos, all of those things, that you have to find that time that works for you. And it doesn't matter. Yours might be in the middle of the afternoon, you know what I mean? But what I'm learning is you will know when something doesn't work because it makes it's like it's hard for you to do it. You try to do it, something happens, you can't do it. It's just like something just keeps coming in your way and it's not working. So I would just say, one thing I learned that there's times when I feel like I'm expanding and I'm growing, but as I'm expanding and growing in one area, also just be aware that you might be contracting and feeling like you're moving back in another area. And I don't really think as you're moving back, I just think the circle is getting bigger And so when you come back around to that area you really haven't grown at, it looks like it's contracting because you felt like you went out, but you went out in one area, but you're still in that same place in another. So I just think, just to be aware of that. And that's something I think as I was, going through my thing, I just became more aware of the fact that there's going to be some expansion and some contraction, some expansion. It's almost like that thing when you think about if you're a woman, right? And in delivery, when you get into that time that you're about to birth that baby and you got those pains coming and it's the contraction, and it's almost like, one of those things where it's like you got to have the contraction before you can have the expansion kind of thing. So that's something I kind of, I felt like as I've been going through this series, that's kind of how I felt like my life has kind of been going in certain areas. Any other questions? Got any other comments, goddesses, about any of the questions that we have?
I know we're at the hour. We got to wrap up, but I will just say this very quickly. And it's just that, you know what, Goddess Juanita, and this is just my perspective hearing you say that. I think we don't think about how much like that's just part of the process. I mean, I know that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go away. Like you haven't lost anything. Like it's part of, like you expanded. And like you said, it's the circle getting bigger. I like that you said that because this just means there's more growth to do. But it feels like you stepped back, but you actually expanded, like you're saying. And then when it comes back around, like you say, to this area, I love how you put that because a lot of times it will feel like that. Like you didn't got behind or you didn't lost something. No, it's just time to go to the next level. That's it.
That's it.
So
that's it.
I love that for you, actually.
Thank
you. I just wanted to say that.
any other comments, goddesses, about the self-love, self-care series and what you learned, or any other final words on that series as we kind of wrap it up? I'm sure we will be always talking a little bit about self-love and self-care because hey, we got to talk about that. That's just something that has to happen in our lives. We need more of it. But if no one else has any comments, I would just like to say thank you so much for joining us, family, for our first live. Thank you. This has been so special for us, and we hope that you will enjoy as you go back and listen to it. You will enjoy this episode. There will be some things that you'll feel like, hey, you've learned from our series. And we just want to say, just may remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we will catch you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ashe.
Yes. Good night.